Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to you Super Mario Bros. Wonder for the Nintendo Switch. The last time we had an all-new side-scrolling Mario game was in 2012 with the release of New Super Mario Bros. U. I know some people might point to New Super Luigi U or the Super Mario Maker games as new 2D Mario experiences, and while yes, they do have new levels, I consider them more of expansions to existing Mario games, just with different level designs. This one is a brand new experience built from the ground up with a new engine, new voice acting, lots and lots of amazing surprises. In fact, I would say that's the biggest selling point of this game, is that it's not stale and boring and repetitive, which is the criticism that most people put against the new Super Mario Bros. Games. Every single level has some kind of unique gimmick or something to set it apart. And once you add in the Wonder Flower effect, then things get even crazier. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. One thing that the new Super Mario Bros. Games really excelled at were the controls. They modernized how Mario moved in 2D space and were so good that Nintendo put them into other games such as Super Mario Maker and Super Mario Bros. 35. And I'm pleased to say that Super Mario Bros. Wonder doesn't really try to change that at all. It still feels pretty much exactly like New Super Mario Bros. U, which is a good thing. You even have most of the same moveset: jumping, dashing, grabbing objects, throwing them upward in a nice nod to Super Mario World. But now you can place standees, which are like little cardboard cutouts that you can use to guide other players online, as well as use badges. Now, some badges are passive, where they just cause certain effects to happen automatically, such as making your character in super form instead of going back to being tiny when restarting a level, or making more coins appear when you jump on enemies. Others require the press of either the right trigger, the R button, or shaking the controller, because I guess some people prefer the waggle controls in New Super Mario Bros. Wii to activate some kind of power, such as grappling onto walls with a vine or grabbing a cap and using it to float through the stage Minish Cap style. I personally really loved the parachute cap badge and hardly ever took it off unless if a level was just really hard and I needed some extra boosts. The game wants you to experiment with these badges though, as it seems like every other level, even the loading screen will say, "Hey, don't forget, you can switch out the badges." Every time you get a new one, "Hey, do you want to switch out the badge?" It gets to be a bit annoying after a while, and even after you die and reset the level, you'll get a prompt: "Hey, do you want to switch out the badges?" Like, okay, we get it. I wish there was a way in the options menu to turn that off. You can select between a full badge select menu and just a prompt, but I wish they went even further than that. In addition to the new badges, there are also new power-ups. I'm only going to name two of them because one of them appears somewhat late into the game and I don't want to get too much into spoiler territory. There's the elephant fruit, which turns your character into a full-blown elephant, not like the cat suit or the tanuki suit. You literally turn into an elephant. You can use your trunk to bash away blocks and enemies, and in some cases even shoot something aside that would otherwise hurt you, such as a spiked ball. You can also store up water in your trunk and use that to spray things like dried up flowers, and sometimes even just spraying the ground will cause coins to appear because invisible flowers will spout. I think the elephant power up probably could have been used better, but it's just such a sight seeing all your favorite characters in elephant form. I know one of my friends said it was disturbing, and I guess in a manner of speaking it kind of is if there's no way to reverse the effect unless if you get hit by an enemy, but I think that it provides just enough gameplay strategy, especially with knowing when to use the trunk, that it's worth the addition. There's also the bubble flower, which allows you to, well, shoot bubbles. If an enemy gets hit by the bubble, it turns into a coin. If you jump on your own bubbles, then you can use them as additional platforms to bounce off of. This is kind of reminiscent of the blue Yoshi's ability in New Super Mario Bros. U. but I found that it was kind of hit or miss. It was good for levels with lots of enemies, but I found that whenever I actually wanted to jump on the bubbles, I could hardly ever get them to behave the way I wanted them to. So I found it kind of just an power-up. The third power-up, which again I won't describe here, offers some neat new ways of traversing the environments and dealing with enemies. I think you will really get a kick out of it. In addition to all the new power-ups, there's also new characters you can play as. In total, your combined roster is Mario, Luigi, two colors of Toads, Toadette, Peach, yes, Peach, she's not kidnapped for once, Daisy, and then as far as the easy mode characters, you've got four colors of Yoshi's and Nabbit. Let's go over the easy mode characters first, because I'm sure people are going to consider them the most controversial part of the game. The Yoshis and Nabbit don't take any damage and they can't use any power-ups. Basically, they're this game's version of the Super Guide. If you have just too much trouble with the level, to my knowledge, the only thing that can actually kill them are bottomless pits, or like lava or poison gas. So you'll want to use them if you just want to breeze through the level, but I highly recommend not doing it because I tried playing as Nabbit and Yoshi just for the sake of telling you guys what they're like, and it was so boring. The lack of tension just completely sapped the fun out of the levels. Yoshi is slightly better than Nabbit because he can use his flutter jump and eating enemies with his tongue, but the flutter jump doesn't offer too much vertical height. It serves as kind of a double jump, but a very nerfed one. Now in multiplayer, you can ride on top of Yoshi, yes, even if you're an elephant, surprisingly, but this is not an element in the main story mode. Like in the new Super Mario Bros. Games, you could find Yoshi inside an egg and then jump on top of his back. That only works in multiplayer this time around. Thankfully, the multiplayer seems to have received a few improvements since its implementation in the new Super Mario Bros. Games. I wasn't able to test it personally because it doesn't support online multiplayer, but from what I've heard, there's no longer any collision or picking up players and throwing them. Everyone passes through each other, and it seems like it's more about cooperation than competition, which would remove a lot of the hecticness of four-player multiplayer in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and no more going through the same pipe over and over again as my friend John tried to do. Just because you can't do online four-player multiplayer doesn't mean that online has been completely shafted. You can, at pretty much any point on the world map, turn on online assist. And when you're playing a level, you'll be able to see other players around the world playing the level as well, and you can watch their silhouettes solving the puzzles. And sometimes they'll put down standees which might say, hey, this is a spot where you should be going if you're trying to complete this. And I guess it's the game's way of helping provide a strategy guide in the form of other people playing the game as opposed to like a journalist. Hope that doesn't put them out of a job. I only turned this on for 2 levels, which were the find all of the coins levels to make the Wonder Seeds appear. And I found that it was okay. It didn't always answer my questions perfectly, but I feel like it's a neat implementation of online play. Now, one thing that the eShop said that is slightly concerning is that on the ratings board it said this game has in-game purchases. To my knowledge, there were no microtransactions whatsoever. If you want to buy things, you just go to a Poplin shop. So my theory is that if you go to Mr. Connect on the world map and choose to turn on online play, but you haven't paid for a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, then you have the option to sign up for one within Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I don't know how I feel about that, because I don't know if you can sign up for the expansion pack deal within this game, but I certainly hope that parents of not too smart of children will be able to really monitor how much they're allowed to turn online on or off, because that would be terrible if you could spend $50 just to see a bunch of ghosts in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Moving on to the level design, it's absolutely spectacular. Every single level has a name, which isn't exactly new, but it feels like it's more earned this time around because the concepts are truly mind-blowing and, in a sense, out of this world because you're in the Flower Kingdom instead of the Mushroom Kingdom, and the game goes out of its way to really let you know Mario and his friends are in a different place, so there's going to be different rules. You don't get a whole lot of traditional Mario enemies in this game. Instead, most of them are these brand new species that have all new properties and rule sets, and some levels are even built around the gimmick of these new enemies. You also have what are called Wonder Flowers, which transform the levels in a variety of extremely creative ways. I don't even want to hint at what the flowers do, besides in the footage that I'm showing you, which is very early game, so no need to worry about spoilers. Some of them will really get you to be like, oh my gosh, what can't the creators think of? I was overjoyed every time I saw the Wonder Flower effects. One thing that kind of disappointed me was that sometimes the Wonder Flower effects repeat themselves in multiple levels. I was kind of hoping every single level would have a new gimmick, but I suppose you can only have so many ideas in a Mario game like this. That being said, I do appreciate the director of the game for telling the team, hey, Mario games have been way too safe lately. We want you to be as creative as possible and really push the boundaries of what Mario is capable of. And I think they succeeded, as even without the Wonder Flowers, the levels are still immaculately designed and are full of so much creativity and personality, with even the level geometry seeming to be unique. The only little nitpick I can make on the creativity side is that it seems like the Poplins are the new equivalent of toads. You run into quite a lot of them. They can be on the world map, and you can give them flower coins to open up a new path. They run the shops. Sometimes they have Poplin houses where they give you either a badge or a wonder seed. And pretty much all of them have the same design. So I'm wondering if that was like a carryover of having all the generic toads from Paper Mario Sticker Star. It's a minor gripe because at least they tried to make a new race, but it does get really annoying every single time you hit the flagpole in a level. The same Poplin appears to give you the same Wonder Seed. Sometimes it's a different color depending on the level. Ooh. And you have to wait for the animation to go. Your character even looks up, almost as if it's prompting you to say, hurry up and press the A button to move on. But at least most of the game is bursting with creativity, and that is amazing. Circling back to the Wonder Flowers for a minute, one thing to keep in mind is that they are optional to completing the levels, so that really encourages the player to explore the level so that they can see what kind of amazing gimmick is going to be added with its effect. Now, some of the levels are going to require you to actually seek out the Wonder Flowers, as there are some paths and some levels that are gated behind how many Wonder Seeds you have. I've been mentioning Wonder Seeds all this review, so let's talk about what they actually are. You get them for completing a level, but you also get them for completing a challenge with a Wonder Flower in it. So having the gimmick is going to help you get the Wonder Seeds, and if you collect enough of them, then you can proceed on the world map. Generally speaking, I wasn't a huge fan of the world map in this game. It sort of mixes it up between a linear pathway and also a more open-ended world map where you can select the levels out of order. I thought that I liked having a non-linear level select, but the way it's implemented here isn't that great. I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, but I found it kind of annoying when the level select after you beat the game would say that I was missing several levels, and I would think, how am I missing these levels? I scoured this world map from top to bottom. Unless if maybe I forgot to find a secret exit? I only found one my entire playthrough, but the game didn't indicate that I was missing something. It didn't have like a, hey, there could be a secret, or have some kind of extra passageway thing, so maybe it could have been more clear as to when there's secrets. That being said, when I did find secrets, like a warp pipe that took me to another world and gave me a little surprise, those were pretty neat, but those little surprises were few and far between. I also think that the map for the world map is kinda useless. Like, it tries to tell you where all of the paths are, but it doesn't really let you zoom in, so you really have to kind of guess where you are in proximity to everything. Generally speaking, one of Super Mario Bros. Wonder's greatest strengths is that it always tries to push the boundaries of what 2D Mario is capable of. I don't want to list all of the things in which they differ, but right off the bat, you can see that they are trying to evolve the series. As there's character dialogue, Bowser actually doesn't kidnap anyone for once. There are moments when the game just decides, hey, you know what? You think you've got the structure of this game nailed down, but we're just gonna throw something at you that's completely different. It's not exactly a revolutionary story, if you can even call it that, but it at least tries to present alternate scenarios besides just Bowser kidnapped someone. The characters actually have personalities, even if they're not that deep. And there's always new and exciting things to discover, even beyond the regular sized levels. Sometimes there are mini levels where you might hear a familiar tune from an old Mario game, and there will be a score with coins listing where the notes would be on how to play the songs. There might be vignettes where the enemies start dancing. I feel like the only real missteps in the level design are when they give you tutorials on how to use a badge. I felt like they were just obstacle courses and didn't have a crazy gimmick to make things wild. The KO arenas kind of fell into that same trap, and the constant whistling was pretty annoying. I didn't like that in Super Mario RPG, and I don't like it here. I hope the upcoming remake fixes that. But even with all of these minor gripes, I think Super Mario Bros. Wonder is one of the best 2D Mario games I've ever played. I'm still not sure if I like it better than the 3D Marios, especially Odyssey and the Galaxy games, but it's definitely my favorite 2D Super Mario Bros. Game, as it feels like it just brings back the awe and wonder of the amazing ideas that, at the time, Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World brought along. Really, the only area where I think the game didn't go far enough in evolving 2D Mario was in the lives system. You still have lives, like, what the heck? If I had to guess, it was so that you would have an excuse to still have yellow coins in the game. My solution would have been to just have a universal currency of one type of coin to buy everything, so that you wouldn't have to separate it between purple and gold coins. Just all the coins you collected could be spent at the shops. Maybe adjust the prices so that it wouldn't be too easy to farm the coins, or something along those lines. I just don't like the idea of lives still being in a game. Granted, it didn't really detract from my enjoyment of the game too much, as lives are pretty easy to buy from the shops and I never got a game over. But on the other hand, once you get to the special world and go to those levels where they don't even have checkpoint pulls, it makes you wonder what's even the point of lives if you just have to reset the level from the beginning anyway. It's like getting several game overs in a row. Maybe in a patch they'll give you a mode to turn off the lives. It's one of the few areas where I think Sonic Superstars beats it out. But as it is, at least the game is pretty generous with extra lives, so you shouldn't have a problem unless if you really stink at Mario games. After I finished recording, I realized that I forgot to talk about the talking flowers, so let's get those out of the way. Throughout the levels, you'll encounter these yellow flowers that actually talk in full sentences in English. A lot of these are just humorous and provide ways of making you laugh within a Mario level. That's certainly new. Sometimes they're super blunt about it and just say, I think you missed something. Sometimes they go even further and say, I think this is why you missed something. So if you're still hunting for that wonder flower, you'll get an indication that you need to go backwards or maybe restart the level. Generally speaking, I never got tired of these flowers, but just in case you do, you have the option to mix and match how much text or voice acting you want. You could maybe have the text but ditch the voice acting, or vice versa, or have none of them and just have them be decorations. I wish that the whole game was fully voiced, as there's a lot of dialogue otherwise, but it's nice that this is something I guess I never knew I wanted in a Mario game, but now that it's here, I can't wait to see how much further Nintendo takes the idea in the future. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Let me know down in the comment section if I missed anything and what you think about the game and the review. I love reading and responding to all of the comments. I'm not saying that for engagement. I'm genuinely interested in what you guys have to say. Special thanks to my patrons Matthew Rakowski, Sploon Ghost, and Splatcat for supporting me on Patreon. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!